Welcome to the Be That Healing Girl podcast. And today we're going to talk about how to feel secure in your anxious with an avoidant relationship, Valentine's Day edition. Bow, 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 bow. And I just want to talk about, first of all, what you might be experiencing. And I will just say, when I think about the version of Claire when I was first dating my husband, that if somebody were to come up to me and say, "You're insecure," I'd be like, no, automatic like inner trigger, but I would try to play it cool. Like, I am not insecure. And it's okay. It's our little secret here. If you feel insecure or you feel that you're not good enough or that you're not really bringing enough to the table, or they're just going to up and meet somebody else that's different and better and cuter and younger, or whatever the thing is, then your secret's safe. It's okay. I totally get it. And I just want to make that a really safe space, because I guarantee if you are my type of girly and you're listening to this podcast or any of the other episodes, you would not feel aligned with somebody calling you insecure. And a lot of times it's not even because of your career or what you've got going on in your life. I'm specifically talking about how secure you feel within yourself in your relationship. So if that sounds like it's hitting home, then this episode is for you. And if you're new here, my name is Claire. I'm a relationship coach, and I love helping high-achieving, high-caliber, high-performing girlies who are climbing the corporate ladder. You've got letters behind your name. You're an academic. Maybe you've got a bunch of real estate or any combination of that to be true for you, and you are struggling. You're on the struggle bus with feeling anxious in your relationship, and it's this whole push-pull dynamic. You chase, they retreat, and then things are good, and rinse and repeat. Am I right? So if that is you, then certainly you are in the right community, and I really love that you're here. And if you're loving this episode or any other episode, hitting the 5 stars, it means so much. This is me just talking into the void. I just get the download and I talk it here. So the only real feedback I get is if you DM me, which I'm always open to that. It's crazy in there, just FYI, so it takes me a while sometimes. But seeing a 5-star really means a lot. It gives me a little inner kick, and I can feel that high five from you. So thank you for doing that. Okay. I am seriously also thinking about the fact that Valentine's Day is a couple days away. This should be releasing on the Tuesday before Valentine's Day in 2025. And I was thinking about how different my approach has been to Valentine's Day over the course of years now. And I am literally going to beg Craig to not get me a present. Please don't get me anything for Valentine's Day. Okay, maybe some chocolate, like that's it, and not anything crazy. Like he could literally stop at 7-Eleven and get me, what kind of, okay, I'm going to just say this. Some of you are going to be like, Claire, that is so gross. I would love just like a 500 grand. Is that like comes in the orange thing, and it's got, my mouth is watering thinking about it. It's got the crispy rice on the outside and caramel in the inside. And I'm also, y'all are going to know something about me. And if you do the same thing too, you better send me a DM. This is so weird. I like to eat the outside of the crispy first, and see if I can get it off in these nice clean bites, and then eat the caramel. Is that so weird? If you do the same thing, please message me, because this is just like a super weird little thing that I do. Okay, anyway, but I am going to ask him, please don't get me a present. And that is so different. We've been together, I can't even believe this, 8 years now. God, it'll be 9 together, not married, but that's so different than how we've evolved and how we've changed, where, yeah, it really did matter to me a lot. And now that I look back, it's obviously and clearly not because we're married. P.S. I know that if you listen to my last episode, and if you've heard me at all talk about, there are women that have been in long-term relationships. I'm thinking about, if you haven't seen the Athena episode, Athena was with her boyfriend for like 6 or 7 years, okay? So if you are in those longer term relationships, I get you, okay? This is for you. I understand this. And you can still be anxious and be married and be in a long-term relationship, because that doesn't solve the problem, okay? It doesn't solve how you receive or have gotten used to receiving love or perceiving love. So just FYI. But for me, what I've really noticed is that it is, I'm going to beg him for no present, because not because we're married, but because of the literal inner change that I've gone through and how I've had to really look and heal the root of my insecurities and my attachment style. And this is something that I go even deeper into in my program, The Confidence Code, which I'm thinking about relaunching soon. It's self-study right now. But it's just because it's so clear, and being able to get to the root of why you have an insecure attachment. P.S. Anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, any kind of attachment style outside of secure is insecure. Literally, it's what it's called. If you don't have a secure relationship in yourself, you have an insecure relationship. So just FYI, if that is triggering to hear that you're insecure, then I love you, but that's actually like how it's classified. So, but I wanted to kind of give a zoom out and a bigger picture of the overall things that I go into in the confidence code, because if you are feeling the angst, and I made a meme the other day that was Cillian Murphy, where he's got his like little side eye and he's unimpressed when they haven't asked what you want for Valentine's Day yet. I want to speak even more clearly to the absolute humor of that, because I used to feel that, and please share that with your partner, because I think it's funny. But I just want to give a little 2 cents on what I think about Valentine's Day. It is all a bunch of bullshit. Okay, it's just a bunch of bullshit, and I say this because I am going to ask for nothing, maybe $100,000 candy bar, but when I look at, I did a little, not experiment, but I just was kind of clocking something this weekend. So we did a little day hike excursion to Encinitas. And if you live in San Diego or you've heard of San Diego, when I think of San Diego, I think of Encinitas, which is this beautiful by the water town. It's got a smaller feel to it. And we were walking on a path that was right by the water, by the ocean. And we were walking up to the car, and I just didn't even think about it. I got close to the car. Craig goes a little faster, and he automatically opens the door for me. And I felt like such a princess because he parked really close to the curb, and I was able to step onto this like little step and step into the step that's on our truck and then into the car. It felt like a princess ramp. And I sat in the car and I was like, wow, he opened the door for me. And I thought, well, he does that a lot for me, actually. And then I started paying more attention the whole weekend. I'd say it's like a 40-60 chance that he's going to open the door for me. I mean, we even went to the grocery store that night. He opened the door for me at the grocery store. And so for me, instead of looking at this whole big thing that is totally hallmarked out, it's just this paid capitalistic holiday, I treat every instance like that. That is a Valentine's Day worthy moment. I don't wait for one time a frickin' year to have somebody show me that they care about me or are thinking about me. I look at these little everyday things that he does for me on a regular basis. So that's my 2 cents about Valentine's Day. And I have a really clear belief that I make every day with my partner a Valentine's Day, because he does things and I do things for him on a regular basis that show our love for each other. Like I like to make dinner for us. And P.S., this is not like, I am not that kind of girly. I have a lot of stuff to do. I've got clients. I'm a busy girl. And I don't always have time to make dinner, but he always makes a statement and makes a comment about how he appreciates me making dinner for us. And I'm just going to say that the more you can see the everyday love that you have for each other, then you're actually going to make so much more out of your relationship. So, couple things that I think are important to feel more secure when you're anxiously attached with an avoidant. So the first thing you want to look at is, how much do you trust yourself? How much do you trust yourself? And I bring this up because, again, I'm going to flex it. 30 days, 1 month without caffeine. And yes, the big reason was I needed a detox. I needed to get off caffeine, and not because I was necessarily experiencing any symptoms from it, but I could just feel my body. I could feel, I didn't like how I just reached for the coffee, especially during December. I don't know why. It's like, oh, yay, the holiday flavors are out at the coffee shop. Let's get a peppermint mocha. And I just didn't like how I was going and approaching in my relationship with coffee. And so the thing that I think is really important to share, and the inner work that the challenge of going without coffee was, I wanted to see, can I do it? I wanted to say and claim something for myself and follow up with that. And again, I'm just going to say, you might, in different contexts, like with work, you might be the person that people go to, right? You might be the friend that you're going to answer the phone, or you're going to give them the ride home. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking, how much do you trust yourself? And a good, a tangential thing would also be, how do you treat your self-care? And not just going to Pilates for the full hour or 45 minutes. That's not what I'm talking about. How do you show up for yourself in a nourishing and supportive way that's aligned with your highest, most authentic self? I'm saying that slow intentionally. I am not talking about how do you withhold, or how do you punish, or how are you rough with yourself. And I'm just getting the download, y'all, that you need to hear this from me, that I'm not talking about how you restrict. Self-trust is, how can I hold a vision of my highest self with love, with grace, with compassion, and do my actions support that? That's what I mean by self-trust. So if you struggle with that, or I'm just going to use, because I used to do this with yoga, all right? And then I kind of went into Pilates, but I would use yoga and Pilates to make myself feel like shit. Okay, it wasn't from a place of, oh yeah, and you're like, yoga, it's supposed to be so loving. I was not, it's a tool. I was not wielding the tool in a loving way. So I'm not speaking about hitting a metric. I got to get my 10,000 steps. That's not what I mean. I mean, how do you lovingly trust yourself? How do you show up for yourself? How do you show love and support? Okay. That's the first key. How do you feel more secure is, how do you trust yourself? The second thing is emotional intimacy. Now, you've heard me talk about this in the podcast, and there are tangible steps to this, but how is your emotional intimacy? Now, of course, the first thing we're going to look at is your relationship, and the emotional intimacy. What I mean by that is, how vulnerable are you in the relationship? And not from I need a word vomit and just like wring it all out onto my partner. To me, that's actually not vulnerability. That's just like a fire hose. That's not opening yourself up. When I say emotional intimacy, are you sharing authentically how you feel from a grounded and centered place? Are you opening yourself up to be seen? And I'm saying some of these things slow, because there is a difference between just how do I want to say this? Machine gunning them with things that you think are wrong. That's not vulnerability. Okay. That is something else. How are you revealing? How are you opening and showing what's inside? That to me is vulnerability. And a lot of times I talk about, how honest are you being with yourself? And a lot of times we're not being honest with ourselves. And so in that, how is your emotional intimacy with yourself? Can you see your emotions? Do you give space for your emotions? Are you allowing yourself to be transparent and clear and see your own emotions? Okay, so emotional intimacy is another piece. The third thing here, and how to feel secure when you're anxiously attached with an avoidant, is how is your ability to challenge your negative self-talk? The more secure I have felt, and when I watch my clients and how secure they literally go from spiraling with anxiety every day into feeling secure in their relationship, it's because they've learned the tangible ways and how to challenge their internal talk. How do they learn how to challenge their own inner dialogue. They learn how to get better at asking themselves better questions. They're honing in on the skill of introspection. And I know that sounds like, okay, I am self-aware. And P.S., I know a lot of my clients would probably rate themselves initially pretty high on self-awareness, and then we get 1 or 2 sessions and they're like, oh, and I would say the same thing. I thought I was self-aware until I had a spiritual freaking just whoa breakdown, I would say. And I was not very self-aware, and it's been humbling to learn that. And I'm not saying I am sitting on top of a mountain like Gandhi right now, but it definitely has been a journey to understand how I challenge my self-talk, how to ask better questions, how to do deeper work. And here's how you know that it's not working. Okay, love you so much. Holding your hand, you're in the cycle. Okay, you are in a cycle with your partner. You're in a cycle internally. And P.S., when I was really not doing great at this, I would cycle partners, meaning I would monkey bar from partner to partner, thinking that, well, I just have to find a better partner. Wrong, not the answer. Because what I was finding in the pattern, there was me. I was the pattern. Okay, I was the pattern. I'm the common denominator. So you can either, and I've said this before, I will say it again, I had to get really clear that I had to get my shit together. When I finally got really clear and had a moment of clarity with Craig in our relationship, I said, holy shit, I am either going to attract another version of Craig, somebody else who was avoidant, or I just was going to figure this shit out, and I'm going to figure it out with Craig. So, and that's my husband, if you didn't know that. So I say this with a lot of love, that your self-talk is everything. How you talk to yourself is everything. And whether you are able to challenge yourself to create more awareness really dictates how you can feel more secure with a partner or not. So that being said, I want to transition to the hotline. Also, if you are wanting to do that deeper dive, if you are really stuck in a cycle, yes, we have the Healing Girl Gang, and one-on-one coaching might be a great fit because and I really only take, if you have seen my links, this is a very specific process, and I don't work with everybody. But if you are really in a cycle and you have done therapy, you've done counseling, and you're feeling really stuck, and you're like, okay, I don't need another like meditation or a hot girl walk or some journaling, then you might need something different. So if that's you, my links are all over the place. One-on-one coaching might be a great fit for you if you are really ready to actually do something different. Now, I will say this. I'm not going to just dance around this. This is only for the people that really want to change, because that's what it takes. All right. So let's go to the hotline. And this is a question from the Healing Girl Gang, which is my community. Links are below. And what's great about being in the Healing Girl Gang, there's different ways that you can ask questions and get support. So this is from Samantha B. I keep getting involved with emotionally unavailable men. Great. My last relationship was with a man who claimed he was secure, but he was actually extremely dismissive, avoidant. The insecurities on both sides came out in full force when I started therapy. He would not. I know my anxiety pushed him a lot as well. My fear of him cheating or just finding somebody better always seemed to get the bbest of me. He triggered a lot of anxiety with his refusal to communicate better as well. Even though I know these things, I had the urge to want to get back together because I still love him and had planned my future with him. I've told him we both would have to work on ourselves, but I am not convinced he would. Hoping this program works to help me get out of this anxiousness to possibly be able to move on from him because I deserve better. Okay, so a couple of things that I just feel are important. And I'm just going to say this, Samantha, I'm just going to say it directly, is I feel like there's a lot of focus on him. And I want you to really just take that for what it is. just an observation. There's a lot of focus on him. And that is, while it feels really probably big, it feels like, well, what am I supposed to do? I get that. I want to re-bring the focus back to you, because it seems like I'm just feeling the energy of this question is that why I can feel the question of like, well, why isn't he doing it? I want him to do better. He said he was secure. Now he's not. I can just feel the charge of that, because I can relate to this a lot. And so I first want you to take a deep breath and come back to what is the only thing that you're in charge of. That is you, honey. Okay, say that with so much love. And we could put a lot of focus. That's an option. And I guarantee it sounds like just from this question, and I can just feel into that you have been putting a lot of focus on him. And the problem with that is that you can't control that. You can't control. We can't control anything, quite honestly. And I would say I don't want you to even try to control your emotions or your thought patterns. That's not how this works. And when we focus on something that's totally outside of ourselves, we focus on the partner, you're going to be in a deeper hole, because you cannot control him. Okay, you cannot control what he does or does not do. I'm sorry that he said he was secure. And quite honestly, maybe he thought he was. Right? He thought he was. And this is also like, talk is cheap. You got to really see people for who they are. Right? And allow that to be the other piece. Now, I'm going to say that because that is important, because the last part of your question, I don't even really see the question. I'm just kind of riffing, but I want to be able to possibly move on from him because I deserve better. That I don't know. I mean, that might also be the possibility, but you won't be able to really get to that conclusion of do I stay or do I go until you get really grounded into who you are and and asking yourself better questions and getting real with yourself. If your focus is on them and you're determining what you should or shouldn't do based on something that you can't control, you're not going to win that bet. It's not going to really pan out for you well. You have to get really clear on what is it that I want. And I hear you in the deserve better. And I want that for everybody. Like, we all deserve love. We all deserve to feel secure and to feel met and to feel supported in our relationships. And it also starts with you. And again, I'm just going to say that starts with you when you get really clear and really grounded and really solid in who you are. Because one of the things that I started to really unfurl for myself when I was with Craig, who, if you didn't know this, he was then my boyfriend, now my husband, that the more clear I got in what the hell I was supposed to do on this planet and like what I needed to do to get my shit together. He even mentioned it in we did a 2-part podcast together. I mean, he talked about it and we've never, what's funny is we kind of had this understanding, and he's never really actually said it to me, where he could feel that I was really going to do my work. And not just he could feel it, but I was taking the action to get my act together. And I energetically knew this, meaning internally my thoughts and my feelings were aligned in this direction. And he decided to rise with me. And so I also feel like that's maybe a piece that's missing, is that you're reacting. Like, that might be the possibility, is that you're reacting to what he does or does not do. Does he go to therapy? Does he whatever? And when in reality, when you are choosing to react to situations, then you're in reactionary mode, right? You're just kind of lashing out, or we're just kind of clawing at things versus putting the focus back on what you're here to do, what is really going on for you as far as what fears are being activated and how you navigate that and how you talk yourself through those fears. Because you're even saying here, my fear of him cheating or finding somebody better is getting the best of you. So to me, that's literally a whole like thesis. Like, we could go so deeply on what that actually looks like for you and how you are internally navigating that. This is also, first of all, little insight on me. I am terrible at math, which is the irony of me marrying a middle school math teacher. Craig taught middle school math for 15 years. But the one thing that we do have in common, which is, we don't have, a lot of things on paper don't align for us. But one thing that we really believe in is show me your work. And what I think is cool now about math, from what I hear and how he's told me, is that there are so many different ways to get the answer to equations. And if you do math and you love math, and good for you. I didn't mean to say it like that, but good for you. That's not my world. But the reality is how he would look at students. It's not can they give him the answer. It was how did they get there. This is what I mean. And I agree. Show me your work. When you say my fear is always getting the best of me, when I look at one-on-one clients, I'm like, how did you get there? Like, what do you mean? How is your fear expressing in you? And everybody is so different. Like I love this work because while I've said this before, we all have thumbs. How your fear got created, how you react to it, how you interface with your fears, how you talk internally about your fear, it's all so different. And when you can really do the deeper digging on what is happening for me, and not from a place of knowing it in your brain, but in real time, how do you shift your actions and behavior to alter outcomes? And hint, hint, you can't change your actions and your choices and behaviors until you understand and connect the dots with your feelings and emotions that are creating those. This is not just going to therapy. And this used to be my flex. I'd go to a new therapist or any therapist, and I could just lay out line by line the things I thought that hurt me. And I could just go, and without crying, that was my flex. I'm like, I can cry and talk about these things. And what I didn't realize, that was taking me so far down the opposite spectrum of healing, that was more wounding. That I didn't realize that was not a flex, really, in the spectrum of healing. And I would go to therapy, and then I would run circles around them. I could tell them all the things, and they'd be like, yeah, you kind of know what's going on. And what I didn't understand was that that's not healing. That's intellectualizing. That's talking about things versus actually connecting the dots. And that's what I kind of see is maybe happening for you, Sam, is that you're in this kind of reaction. You're watching what he's doing instead of focusing internally. You're in a reactionary state with what he's doing or not doing. And you're like, well, I gotta figure it out and I want to be able to move on. When in reality, your inner groundedness, your inner clarity, your own inner confidence is going to weed him out, or you're going to get closer together or not. I hope that lands for you. But that would be something that I would look at more deeply is, are you actually in tune with what you're working through? That's the best I can do in answering that without having more dialogue with you. And you're in the Healing Girl Gang, so we have other ways to do that. So, and if you're listening to this, I know you got some magic from whatever you heard and whatever you're downloading. So focus on you and work on how can I respond to my own thoughts, my own feelings, what's happening in the relationship instead of reacting. You're gonna feel more empowered than feeling reactionary. All right, angels. And on this Valentine's Day, I just want to remind you that it's not about the big gestures. It's about who somebody's being with you. Can they just get you $100,000 candy bar from the 7-Eleven and watch you eat it like a weirdo? Okay, angels. I'll see you on the socials. I love you. Mwah.